Welcome to the Be Smart podcast, how not to be an idiot with your money. Jared, what's up? How's life going?
Good. I got my cat Wendy right here. I'm not going to pick her up because she's going to get hair all over me, but she's getting some head scratches right now.
I can't let my cats in here when I'm recording. They'll be all over me, just knocking over cameras, all that stuff.
No, Wendy's good. She's a good girl.
You want to go right into the market headlines, get going?
Yeah, sure.
Let's start with this Economist cover. Only 1,361 days to go. For those listening to the pod and not watching on YouTube, this cover shows a battered eagle wrapped in bandages, feathers on the ground, maybe even a little blood. It's pretty gnarly. By April 30th, Trump will have closed out his first 100 days in office. The S&P is down about 8% since his inauguration and on track for its worst run during a president's first 100 days since Gerald Ford in 1974, following Richard Nixon's resignation. What do you make of this cover, Jared? I know you usually get a kick out of them.
I get more than a kick out of them. These covers are really useful. And prior to this cover, you had the dollar Scream cover, the Edward Munch Scream picture. So basically, the Economist is always wrong. And through their symbology, I guess, their symbolism, they on the cover art, they typically mark turning points in markets, right? So if you have a picture of a bald eagle that got the shit kicked out of it, that means that you want to buy U.S. assets, U.S. stocks, U.S. bonds, and the dollar. Because basically, what's been happening over the last month or two is that U.S. assets have been getting killed, the bond stocks and the dollar. And you want to do the opposite of this cover. It is, I don't want to say these covers are completely foolproof, but they're so incredibly accurate in terms of timing turning points. It's unbelievable.
And then next, could you speak to this idea that you're bullish now, but bearish 6 months from now?
Apparently, I'm not the only person with this idea. I saw Bob Elliott and Luke Gromen talking about this too. I think something in the markets is broken. I think Trump broke it. Price action is a little different. It acts a little bit different. I do think that stocks get pretty close to where they were on the highs, but three to 6 months from now, we are going to have, I think, a really horrific bear market. And I don't know what the catalyst will be, but I think we talked about this on the last podcast about how the price action is kind of similar to 2001, 2002. Maybe it's tariffs, maybe it's China, who knows? But for the moment, I'm long, or leaning long. And, I think the 200 day is at 57. I think we'll get to the 200 day. I think we'll go a little bit beyond that. But if we do, I would be lightening up going into the summer.
So we talked about Tesla a little bit on a recent podcast, and I saw that the earnings report they released recently was pretty abysmal. But in the last 5 days now, it's up like 23+%. What do you make of that? Is this because Elon's saying he's going to step back from Doge and get more involved in Tesla again? I mean, it just doesn't make any sense.
100% that's it. And a lot of it's technical too. If you look at the market indicators, there was a 13 buy in Tesla right at the moment that the stock market turned. It's 100% Elon stepping back from the government. He did a lot of damage to the brand. Elon is a strange guy. There is something to be said for being able to change your mind, especially about politics, right? There's so many people in this world who vote for Team Red or Team Blue, no matter what the circumstances and no matter what new information they get, they always are on Team Red or Team Blue. And Elon had this complete ideological transformation where he went from a guy who was pretty liberal to a guy who's really far right, Like, like I considered myself to be right of center, and Elon has moved beyond where I am, you know. And I guess, like I said, it's commendable that you can change your mind, but the transformation has been so thorough and so complete that it's just startling to watch, you know. And not that, look, like, not that your politics should really, really matter for your products, but I think most CEOs, if they do have political views, they try to keep them under wraps because they knew if their political views did get out, it would be negative for their brand, you know? So Elon is the exception.
For our next headline, Trump floats new income tax cut in bid to ease tariffs fight. I'm just going to read you the first part of Trump's post from Truth Social on this. When tariffs cut in, many people's income taxes will be substantially reduced, maybe even completely eliminated. The focus will be on people making less than $200K a year. What do you think, Jared? Can tariff revenue replace income taxes, or is this just something Trump's throwing out there because, there's so much anxiety over his economic agenda?
Let's just say, for the sake of argument, that it can, right? Let's say he's going to raise $600 billion off of tariffs and we're going to cut $600 billion off of taxes. Do you really want to eliminate income taxes for 95% of the population and only have 5% of people carry the entire burden of financing the government? Is that what you really want? Like, do you want to make the tax code so freaking progressive that only a small minority of taxpayers actually pay for the government? This is a bag of shit. This is really bad. Like, I didn't vote for Trump. I don't vote for anybody. And this is one of the reasons I don't, because whenever I used to vote for somebody, I was always embarrassed by my vote like 6 months later. So if I had voted for Trump, I would be furious right now, because if, to the extent that people pay income taxes, everybody should pay something. Everybody, even the poorest people. The poorest people should write $100 check and send it in with their 1040. That's their contribution. If you're not contributing anything, it's like being in an HOA, right? Like, every house pays HOA fees. Everybody chips in for the landscaping. Everybody chips in for the mailboxes. Everybody chips in for the pool. Right? Imagine in a homeowners association where only 5% of the house is paid for everything. Like, that's not a good solution. Like, this is terrible. This is really, really bad. And this, and on top of that, the piece that you didn't mention was that Trump was actually considering raising rates on millionaires, on high income taxpayers. He wanted to create a higher tax bracket of $1 million and up and put a 40% rate on it. This, by the way, that bill would have passed because Democrats would have voted for it, right? It would have passed on a bipartisan basis. All the supply siders from the 1980s are gone, and this is what we're left with, right? So tax rates on the rich are going to be ratcheting higher and higher and higher. No other developed economy does this. Nobody in Western Europe does this. I mean, I think the bottom tax bracket in France is 21%. The bottom tax bracket in Sweden is 35%. All these European democracies, in Japan, the bottom rates are still pretty high. Everybody pays something. So I totally disagree with this. This is terrible. I've written at least one reason piece on this. And, I look, like, I'm not even sure at this point that we would have been better off with Trump than Kamala. That's how bad it is.
Another tariff headline, and then we're going to have a little bit of fun here. Trump-China tariffs set to unleash supply jolt on U.S. economy. Oh, there she is. That Wendy?
That's Wendy. Wendy.
Nice.
Sorry, I had to take a cat break.
All right, bear with me here as I rattle through some key highlights. Cargo shipments from China to the U.S. have plummeted by as much as 60% since the U.S. raised tariffs to 145% in early April, and thousands of companies will need to replenish inventories by mid-May. The supply shock could lead to empty shelves, higher prices, and significant layoffs in industries such as trucking, logistics, and retail, with some economists warning of COVID-like shortages. On top of that, the World Trade Organization has warned that goods traded between the US and China could decrease by as much as 80%, backing Scott Besant's description of the current situation as essentially a trade embargo. The uncertainty is partly why economists say a recession is almost a coin flip in the US. First question for you. Do you anticipate a de-escalation in the near term between the US and China, or is this going to linger?
I do think there's going to be a de-escalation. I think there has to be. If you're sitting in the White House, if you're Scott Bessent and he's look, we get information like this. Where was this article from? Like Wall Street Journal or something like that?
This is a Bloomberg.
It's from Bloomberg. All right. So he's getting information from Bloomberg. He has better sources. He knows how acutely screwed we are in terms of trade, how there's going to be shortages and dysfunction and stuff like that. I think there has to be a de-escalation. And I think the de-escalation is what propels the stock market back up close to the highs. That's kind of what I'm betting on. I'm betting on a de-escalation. But the question is, what happens 3 to 6 months from now?
And I saw something about Walmart and Target CEOs were already saying like, hey, Trump, our shelves are going to be empty, coming up here in May. So a lot of pain ahead, I think. Second question, do you agree that a recession is basically a coin flip, or do you see recession odds leaning one way more than the other?
I think it's more than a coin flip. I think it's 70 to 80% chance at this point. And part of that is because of trade. And I think part of that is because of private equity. I think that private equity is a big concern for the White House. I think it's a big concern for a lot of people. It's funny. We have somebody at Jared Dillian Money who basically farms all these headlines on private equity. He puts them on shortprivateequity.com. But the headline that is the biggest of all these headlines is the fact that Harvard and Yale are trying to offload some of their private equity investments on the secondary market. And this, to me, is the most startling and dangerous news that we could possibly get. For somebody like Yale, who has a $6 billion slug of private equity, and they're willing to go to put it out in the secondary market and say, we're willing to take $5 billion for this, 4.5. Like, you're not going to take $4.5 billion for a $6 billion investment unless you believe that investment is going to be worth less than $4.5 billion, right? Which you're talking about a 25% drawdown in private equity. Like, that is startling. So, I believe that the private equity short is going to pick up speed, and I think it has systemic risks. I think Blackstone and Ares and Apollo, I think they're all totally screwed. I think I was quiet on this trade for a while. I first started talking about private equity in like 2023, like in December, and then the stocks like rallied up to new highs, and I look like an idiot. But I think this is the big short all over again. I think there's going to be bailouts. I think it's going to be a recession. I think it's going to be a disaster.
Yeah, you're just a little early.
A little early. Yeah. I mean, if you saw the big short, they were early, right? Like, Michael Burry was early, like the Front Point guys were early, right? So it's same thing.
Perfect segue, because we are going to talk about the big short. So let's lighten this up a little bit, because I cannot take any more tariffs talk. I don't know about you. Our main topic for this week is the 10 best finance and Wall Street movies, at least according to Investopedia. I'm going to go through these one by one. You tell me if you've seen them, whether you're a fan or not. Number 10 is The Big Short. Obviously, you've seen that one.
Yep.
Number 9, Barbarians at the Gate.
I never saw that.
Me neither.
I think I read the book. I did read the
Number
book. I read the book a long time ago about RJR Nabisco and KKR and stuff like that. I did read the book.
number 8, American Psycho.
Yeah, that's not really a Wall Street movie. I don't know.
I'm a fan of it though. I think it's low key hilarious. Christian Bale's so good in it.
It has a terrible ending. It has a terrible ending where it's like supposed to be like a dream. Did this really happen? You know, you're like it's got one of the worst endings in movie history.
I'm not sure if it's faithful to the book at all, but have you read the book?
No, I haven't. No.
Number 7, Glenn Ross.
Oh, amazing. Absolutely amazing. Well, it's now that I don't consider that to be like a Wall Street movie per se, but if you work in sales, in any capacity, you have to see this movie. You have to see Glenn Ross. Like it is incredible.
Yeah,
So,
they're not all like Wall Street movies, but they have financial elements to them.
yeah.
I have not seen that. I need to get on that.
Oh my goodness.
The reason I wanted to do this week is because I watched Wall Street this past weekend, and I had never seen Wall Street, which is actually, yeah, how crazy is that?
It's really good. It's really good. Yeah.
Yeah, I really loved it. I also watched the second one that came out in 2010.
No good.
That movie is awful.
It's terrible.
It's so bad. Number 6, Rogue Trader from 1999.
I didn't see that, but I'm very familiar with the story. What was that guy's name? I can't. Nick Leeson. That's right. Yeah, I haven't seen that.
Number 5, Enron, the smartest guys in the room. I think this is a documentary.
Yeah, I didn't see that either. No. Incredible story, though.
Wolf of Wall Street, number 4.
Never saw Wolf of Wall Street.
It's really good. I highly recommend it. It's super entertaining.
I know. It's just, I don't want to give Jordan Belfort any more money or attention or, anything.
Yeah, I'm not a fan of that guy either, but DiCaprio in it is amazing. Boiler Room, number 3.
Boiler Room is great. So first of all, Boiler Room is about Stratton Oakmont. In the movie, they call it JT Marlin. Ben Affleck has an incredible scene in that movie where he asks like all the recruits like if they have their Series 7, and one guy raises his hand. He's like, "Pack your shit, Skippy, get out of here." But Giovanni Ribisi, Ben Affleck, Vin Diesel, Neil Long. I love Boiler Room. That's one of my favorites.
Number 2 is Margin Call.
I never saw Margin Call. Never did.
I haven't either, but I've heard it's really, really good.
Yeah, it's supposed to be really good. Yeah.
And number 1, naturally, is Wall Street.
Wall Street, 1986. That movie is almost 40 years old. And I thought about showing it to my class. My students were born in 2006, right? So when I think about this, like I'm born in 1974. So that would be me sitting in class watching a movie from 1954, right? So it probably doesn't translate well. It's probably really boring to the kids. But Wall Street, and the best thing about Wall Street is Oliver Stone was like, hated Wall Street and wanted to make a movie that shit all over it. And like everybody would hate Wall Street. And it completely backfired and everybody wanted to work on Wall Street.
I loved it. I thought it was really great. Any big omissions here? You think anything's missing?
There's movies with, trading scenes. Like 25th Hour is one of my favorites. Have you seen 25th Hour?
I love that movie so much.
All right.
Yeah,
so
you wrote about it. I think it was a year ago. And I was like, I hadn't seen this since it had come out. And I rewatched it. And oh my God, that movie is so good.
25th Hour is really, really good. And Philip Seymour Hoffman and Barry Pepper and Ed Norton, like it's really, really good.
Whatever happened to Barry Pepper? I was a big fan of him.
I was a big fan of Barry Pepper too. He was in Saving Private Ryan. He was in 61, the movie about Roger Maris. He played Roger Maris. He is a dead ringer for Roger Maris. Looks exactly like him. And by the way, 61 is the best baseball movie ever made. Gotta watch 61 if you're into baseball.
I've seen it. It's really good.
Yeah.
Let's go over to the week ahead because there's a lot going on here. Tuesday, U.S. JOLTS and consumer confidence data. On Wednesday, the U.S. Treasury announces its latest debt refunding plans, plus the U.S. GDP report for the first quarter, personal consumption data and earnings from Meta and Microsoft. On Thursday, U.S. jobless claims and manufacturing survey, as well as Amazon and Apple earnings. And then on Friday, U.S. non-farm payrolls. So we've got 4 of the 7 Mag 7 stocks reporting this week.
Yeah, I actually don't think the earnings are super important. I think Jolts is a big deal. I'll be paying attention to Jolts tomorrow. So today, this is coming out on Tuesday. But yeah, I think that the market is so focused on tariffs and macro stuff that the Mag 7 earnings kind of take a back seat.
Yeah, it's all tariffs all the time. You getting sick of it yet?
Yeah, I don't like, it's funny. Did you see my Substack where I talked about my life in electronic communications? Did you see that one?
Yeah. Oh yeah.
So, the nice thing is that I wrote that and everybody left me alone. Like I stopped getting all the texts and the emails, like people started leaving me alone. But I was on the couch last night. I was watching American Idol and I did get a text about tariffs like at 8:30 at night. I was like, oh my God, like this is
such a buzzkill. Come on. I have gone to like putting my phone on straight up like focus mode, do not disturb, a lot more often lately. Because I'm in some group chats and stuff. And when those get popping off, it's like you'll get like 20 something messages just rapid fire. And it's like, I can't deal with this right now. So yeah. I totally get it.
When I go on my writing retreat, which is in 2 weeks, I'm probably going to block like 10 people. Like I'm just going to block them for the week. I'll write it down so I remember to unblock them, but I'm just going to be blocking people on my phone.
We miss anything this week? Are we good here?
I think we're good. I think Wendy enjoyed the show.
Nice. Good to have her.
Yep.
All right, everyone, like and subscribe to the podcast and drop us a comment letting us know what your favorite Wall Street or finance movie is. Clearly, I've got a lot of them to watch, so I'll put it on my watch list. Take care.
See ya.